Future Now show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
Dear friends of the Club of Amsterdam and of the Future Now show, I am very pleased to invite you to watch our program with Professor Livio de Santoli, who is the Deputy Rector of La Sapienza University in charge of sustainability strategies. We will be talking about hydrogen. Jeremy Rifkin wrote a book on the hydrogen economy in year 2002 that inspired the new sustainability strategy of the European Commission at the time when the President of the Commission was Romano Prodi, and up until now with President von der Leyen, hydrogen remains an important part of the strategy of the European strategy for sustainability and energy. Why? Because hydrogen is a technology that allows to maximize the input from renewable energies. And now renewable energies are seen by the European Commission as the key to get out of dependence from Russian gas and fossil fuels in general. So with the program Repower EU that was announced on the 8th of March this year, the European Commission launches a totally new, very ambitious program on hydrogen from renewable energies, or green hydrogen, that will be the brand of the European Commission for the next 10, 15, 20 years. But hydrogen comes from very far. In the video clip that we are going to show you now, you will see that already in year 2002, which is 20 years ago, the Director of Research of General Motors presents the high wire car, a project, an hydrogen car that he developed, and this hydrogen car was presented in the Motor Show of Detroit in year 2002 already. Then something happened, and this car, like many other hydrogen cars, never saw the market. Why? Too easy. You have to watch the show with Angelo Consoli and Livio de Santoli on the Future Now show. Hello to everybody, hello to all the viewers of the Future Now show and the Club of Amsterdam. This is Angelo Consoli from the office of Jeremy Rifkin, and
this is Livio de Santoli from University of Rome La Sapienza.
All right, it's good to have a possibility and opportunity to speak about the latest strategies of the European Union, especially the strategies that the European Union has announced with a press conference on the 8th of March, going under the name Repower EU. Vice President Franz Timmermans has illustrated these strategies in order to allow the European Union to get out of the depending of Russia from Russia for natural gas and other fossil fuels. And the most important, the most relevant element of this new strategy of the European Union, the two most relevant elements are an incredible acceleration on the rate of installing of renewable energies in Europe. So what had to be done by 2030 now will have to be done by 2025, and by 2030 we will have to install more than the double of the renewable energy power that we were planning to install according to the strategy of the Green Deal, the European Green Deal. And secondly, but equally important, a strong acceleration on the strategy for green hydrogen, hydrogen from renewable energies. Now, why it is so important for, for Europe and the Europeans and for our energy sovereignty and independence to go towards renewable hydrogen and green hydrogen, I handle to Livio de Santoli to illustrate this to us. Livio is particularly qualified to speak about this because he's the deputy rector of the University of Rome La Sapienza, in charge with renewable energies and the sustainability strategies. And he and I go back a long time, since we did the first in 2005, 2006, we did the first master plan for the decarbonization of the city of Rome, together with Jeremy Rifkin. And since then, Livio has always been dealing with these matters, both at the Faculty of Engineering and Energy Engineering and the Faculty of Architecture, of which he has also been Dean. So now, Livio, why is it so important that we have renewable hydrogen in order to reach our energy independence?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Angelo. Yes, we are talking only the possibility to get hydrogen from renewable because the decarbonization needed. And the decarbonization, Europe say that will be end in 2050. But by my side, I can think that we can accelerate this process, and probably the conditions are ready in order to reach this goal 10 years before.
So 2040.
Yeah, and this is the reason why we have to make all the kind of effort to accelerate the process. And because of Europe says that hydrogen is an essential vector in this process, we have to move on in this direction. But from a technological point of view, everything is ready to do that. Because from technological point of view, Europe say that we have a very strictly goals to be reached in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And this for every country members, including Italy, of course. And this means that with such a number, they are very, very ambitious numbers in terms of hydrogen production and hydrogen final uses. I think that we have to go as soon as possible in this direction. So this is the reason why, if we want to talk about hydrogen, we have to speak about green hydrogen. Last remark, it's related to the price of green hydrogen. Up to now, we have a gap to overcome, which more or less means 5 euros per kilograms as a gap. So only the industrialization of the process may cover this gap. And only a number of projects in Italy as well, for the so-called hydrogen valley, need to give an answer to that. Just with the practice and the operative process. Of course, we need to cover all the different final uses possible. Transportation, EV transportation, also industrial applications in some very critical industrial in the south of Italy, for example, but also in the north. And just we can admit, just in a very, very first part of this decade, the possibility to have a blend with the natural gas, but just for the first 4 or 5 years, no more.
So for the transition phase.
Yes. And so this is the reason why it's very promising, the effort that everybody is going on. I have to say that unfortunately in Italy we are again waiting for a clear strategy about hydrogen, green hydrogen in particular, because the only document already existing is related to a line guide, very general, very brief document in which are not so clear goals and tools to reach this goal. Probably our minister in Italy is working about, and we are waiting for in the next months or weeks, hopefully something clearer. So this is more or less the situation. There is another thing to say. Finally, there is a lot of money coming from the recovery fund in Italy, as everybody knows, and there is a lot of money for hydrogen, because hydrogen, green hydrogen, it's incentivized so much in order to reach this kind of result. In particular, it's very important the task of the university and of the research. Presently, we are moving on to apply for a number of projects with industrial teams in order to reach together the final result. It's very important in this phase to combine together the effort, industrial and research, in order to reach in a very, very quick way the final result. And fortunately, we have a lot of money to do that. Presently, Sapienza is going on in a very, very promising process with Edison, which is a very important industrial partner in Italy, and with SNAM, about the possibility to use hydrogen in order to activate a biomethane process. So there is a lot of things to do. There is a lot of green job to create. There is a lot of opportunity in the territory in Italy. And this is a really amazing, critical moment to be going on.
One of the things that you have been saying now, but also all the time, is the technological readiness. We are technological ready. Don't let anybody fool you and tell you that, you know, hydrogen is not ready, it's just an experimental technology, it's too expensive, it's a counter energetical process, because you need more energy to produce the hydrogen than you receive from the hydrogen when you. Of course, every energy transformation doesn't create energy, but uses energy, and therefore hydrogen too. But the energy efficiency of the hydrogen processes are much higher than the energy efficiency of the fossil-based processes. So making renewable energy from a photovoltaic or wind, and then transform it into hydrogen, and then use that hydrogen at night in order to have electricity to power vehicles or to have lights, etc., is more energetically efficient than do all that with the fossil, extracting fossil fuels, channeling fossil fuels through gas pipelines, oil pipelines, and then putting them into refineries, etc. These processes are more inefficient than producing hydrogen from water with renewable energies. But people try to say that this is inefficient, and therefore it is very important to recall that the European Commission has given a very specific task to every member state. We have to reach 1 million tons of renewable energies, renewable hydrogen produced by every year, produced by 2024. We have to have 40 million tons by 2030. We have to install 100,000 megawatts of electrolyzers and 6,000 megawatts of electrolyzer by 2024, which is less than 2 years' time. These goals are reachable only if there is this collaboration between research, innovation centers, and the industry, the industrialization, and making critical mass with the hydrogen technologies, fuel cells, electrolyzers, etc. And this is what the European Commission is telling us. And also, as Livio has pointed out, we also have received a specific task by the European Commission to create the hydrogen valleys and to create the hydrogen clusters. In the hydrogen clusters, we have to put together all the uses of hydrogen so that we can, on one hand, produce green hydrogen and have the demand and offer of green hydrogen meeting. Because if we produce green hydrogen and nobody uses it, then that green hydrogen serves no purposes. But if we have hydrogen cars and we don't have green hydrogen to power our hydrogen cars, we are stuck. And therefore, we need to make these hydrogen valleys with hydrogen-specific clusters for electricity in domestic use, for mobility, for industrial use. For instance, Livio was recalling that there is a very strong demand for hydrogen into high energy intensive industrial processes like steel, for instance. But we can use hydrogen also for less intensive and more distributed industrial processes, like, for instance, additive manufacturing and 3D printing. We can have in industry based on 3D printing. 3D printer machines are electric machines that can be powered by hydrogen, by fuel cells and hydrogen. Therefore, we can really create a texture of distributed small, medium-sized industries, which is highly job intensive also on the floor, on the hydrogen economic ground. But in order to do that, we have to also create the professional figures. We have to create jobs that don't exist yet. We have to create thousands and thousands of operators and designers and then installers, etc., for electrolyzers, for fuel cells, and all the hydrogen technologies. And this is something that can only be done if there is a clear national plan in every country. And specifically, to conclude, on mobility, because mobility is the first application that runs, that allows the use of green hydrogen. On mobility, we have fantastic technologies already available, and that's I would like for you to show a video that was recorded at the motor show of Detroit in year 2002. Watch at what state already of technological advancement the hydrogen mobility was already in 2002, and then after we have seen this video, we will conclude this moment of discussion by trying to find some explanation why from 2002 up to today we are still basically in the same condition, in the same position.
I'm Byron McCormick, Executive Director of General Motors Fuel Cell Activities.
Byron, tell us a little bit about this, I guess you could call it a vehicle behind us.
It certainly is. This is the skateboard that underlies the sequel vehicle. It's like we had in the autonomy and the high-wire vehicle. And let me give you a quick tour of this, and then you can see how it applies to the vehicle. Our goal here is to be able to use hydrogen with a fuel cell, zero-emission vehicle, hydrogen-powered, moving away from petroleum as the fuel. The center of the vehicle is hydrogen storage. These are compressed hydrogen storage tanks. The light green element there is the fuel cell stack. That produces about 80 kilowatts worth of electric power. That's split into an electric drive in the front to drive the front wheels. Conventional electric drive is an electric vehicle. And in the back, we've got something really pretty revolutionary here. We've got wheel hub motors where the motor is actually right in the hub. The beauty of this technology is that we can now control the force on each tire independently, and we can do it instantaneously. It makes the car safer. And in fact, for people that are interested in performance, this particular motor has high torque from the second you punch it all the way up to maximum RPM. So you've got a flat torque curve. This car will just kind of keep accelerating very, very smoothly. Key element to the technology, both in terms of safety and in terms of performance. The other element of this is that now that we've put everything in the skateboard, the center of gravity is low, so the car is very stable, feels very good. And additionally, our designers have got all of that freedom to design cars that people want, the style that people want, the performance people want, the utility people want. And at the end of the day, if we're going to move to sustainable energy, move away from petroleum, move to an environment where we just have zero emission, we've got to sell millions of these things. So that design flexibility is key to it, because people buy cars, yes, for transportation, but they also buy them because they feel good about them and how they feel and what they do with them. And so now we've got a lot of freedom for our designers to be able to do that. That's the heart of the matter, and that's why we think this is going to be the revolutionary vehicle of the future.
You can build different body styles, obviously, for this vehicle, unlike any other vehicle. Are they interchangeable? Is this something that theoretically you could take one off and put another one on?
Yeah, we've actually looked at the idea of changing body parts out. In the sequel, we have not done that. It's a little bit more conventional in the way we've done it. In part because when we started with the autonomy, we did in a very aggressive and very different kind of a design. With the high wire, we had electric controls that our current car driver wouldn't be comfortable with, although I got to tell you, the kids understand it real quickly and say, oh, why don't you go to a joystick and things. So in the sequel, while we're moving the technology forward in terms of its performance and getting down the cost curve and all those kind of things, we've kind of taken a step backwards and made the car a lot more conventional. As soon as on the sequel, in fact, we have a hood that looks like there's an engine under there. In fact, what's under there is an air conditioner and all the stuff that's usually under the dashboard, and all the real working parts are here. The thing about this vehicle is, rather than what we did with the autonomy and high wire, we've kind of moved it into the domain of things that people would really recognize today. And so when you first look at it, it looks like a conventional SUV, but there's a lot of things that are different. You've already seen the skateboard, and you understand that it's very different underneath. Interior-wise, it looks like a conventional dashboard, but there's a lot of room in there. But what's really going on is that place that's on the top of the dashboard where you normally would not be able to do anything, you open your glove box and maybe you can put a little pamphlet or something in there. The whole dashboard opens up as a storage area. Fact is, there's nothing under there, but except the airbags. Right. And in fact, what we did is moved everything that was in the dashboard up under the hood of the vehicle, because now we don't have anything under the hood of the vehicle. So we've got a lot of flexibility here, and what we did with this is really design a vehicle that today's current car buyer would recognize and feel very much at home with, and that was our intention. Full performance, 300-mile range, 0 to 60 in the kind of times that they would expect, an interior that's styled along pretty much conventional lines, but when you start looking at the details, like that dashboard, you find out there's some things that are radically different. And if you've ever tried to store things in your car, you know how nice it is to have that kind of space.
Is there any kind of time frame where something of this sort could be on the roads?
Our CEO gave us the challenge, Rick Wagner gave us the challenge to have the technology ready to apply to a vehicle for the showroom around the 2010 timeframe. In fact, specifically, he said, have the technology ready by the fourth quarter 2009. What we have to do now is start to work with governments to worry about how we roll out the hydrogen infrastructure and start thinking about how we will design these vehicles. But if you'll notice, this is a full performance vehicle, and so we're really getting quite confident about the performance of the technology. Now we're working with a supply base to bring the cost of the materials down, to get experience out on the highway, to find out what we need to do to make it rugged, durable, reliable.
Okay, so as you have seen, the high wire cars was already planned by our friend Baron McCormick, that was with us at the master plan in Rome, and it was organized anecdotally. Let me tell you that the managing director of General Motors told Baron McCormick that he wanted a hydrogen car because he wanted to get out of oil, because oil means a relationship and geopolitical dependence from the Arabs. And he didn't like, remember, that was the year of the Twin Towers disaster. And so as a reaction to the Twin Towers disaster, the managing director of General Motors invested a lot of money in order to produce this jewel you have seen, the General Motors high wire. And if we had that car now, if we had a car like that, like for instance the Toyota Mirai and the Hyundai, other cars available on the market by millions and millions, we would need no gas, no oil from the Russians, the Arabs, or anybody else who creates a geopolitical dependence on us. I say more. We also have to be very careful how we produce the electricity that we put into the electric cars. Because if, in order to power our electric cars that are already ready on the market, we have to use gas and create electricity in the gas-powered power stations, then we've done nothing. We have no improvement from a geopolitical point of view. And instead, this now can be our great opportunity to create independence and to have energy from our thermodynamically consistent sources like the sun, the wind, the water power. And the reason why we are not seeing many more cars like that is because the public powers are not pushing for that. You have to have the possibility, I mean, you have to create a mass market for cars, for hydrogen cars, create a network of refilling stations, for instance. We have some 100 refilling stations in Germany, but we don't have any refueling station in Italy. So how can we have hydrogen cars if we don't have refilling stations? Let's remember that even the Pope Francis has a hydrogen car. The Papa Mobile is a Toyota hydrogen car, but if he doesn't have a refilling station, then he cannot move the car. So there is the possibility to overcome this if we do what Europe says we should do. The hydrogen valleys, making a network of refilling stations, taking into account the industry, domestic use, mobility use, but it's once again up to the public power decision process to lead the way. Otherwise, we will not see the industry and the research and technology get together in this very big exercise. This is my explanation why we, in 2002, we had the high-wire General Motors car, and today we are still at that, and we don't have any market for hydrogen cars.
Okay, a couple of final remarks about this very important topic, is including some comments. First, in order to go ahead in the right way in each country, we need a political support, because this is a matter of industrial policy. Each country starting right now a new adventure needs to, build companies in industrial field. For each component that, as we know, there is a lot of component in the entire value chain of hydrogen. And this needs a supporting policy coming from the government, from the policy. So this is very important. And right in this way, it's necessary to adopt a clear strategy with clear goals, not only on the long run, but also step by step, in order to understand if the direction is correct, or we need to make some, adjustment. Second, the importance in this matter to develop as soon as we can an educational program in each stage of the educational process, coming from the technicians, very young, till to university studies. Because I don't know in Germany, probably not, but here in Italy, we are in the year zero from this point of view.
Far behind.
Yes. And so this is very important approach starting right now in order to develop schools, university courses, and to high-level education as well in the field of hydrogen value chain. So the two things, policy and education, are directly connected together. And it's very important to have the both things applied, and this is a very amazing process, because we are starting right now with a new horizon, new, very promising result for our young people, for our son. And,
like Europe is showing us.
Yes.
And okay, so we leave you with this very specific statement. The hydrogen issue is not a technological issue. Hydrogen is technologically ready in all uses, from domestic to mobility to industry, etc. The hydrogen issue is a policy issue, political issue. We have to have visionary decision makers that want to make hydrogen plants, implementing them at national level, regional level, state level, city level, also locally. And then the second issue is educational. As Professor Livio de Santoli said, and nobody knows better than him, the education process needs to be adjusted. We need from the higher level engineers able to design new technologies and bring them to the industrial pipelines, but we also need the technicians that bring these technologies on site, that know how to connect a hydrogen electrolyzer to a sun power station in a city mall, in a parking lot, wherever there is a photovoltaic or a wind park, in order to create hydrogen from the surplus of renewable electricity. These things don't happen on their own. They need plans. They need to be planified by the state and by the universities. And these are the only two very important issues that Europe is telling us in order to reach our hydrogen valleys are hydrogen clusters. No technological problems. There are no more technological problems. Hydrogen is safer than any fossil fuels. Gasoline and diesel is much more dangerous than hydrogen, so they don't want to hear this hydrogen danger history anymore. But we need vision in our politicians and the adjustment of our schools and universities and educational departments.
Because there is a more dangerous affair with fossil fuels, which is the lack of independence. And we have to cover this because we need for our future, for our better future, a completely free, independent energy. The war in Ukraine is telling us that. So it's very important to push.
Our dependence from Russian gas, okay, if we didn't have a dependence on the Russian gas, I cannot say that there will not be war, but at least Putin would do his war, but not with our money. And I think this is very important final geopolitical consideration to make. Goodbye to everybody. Thank you for listening to us, to having the patience to arrive until the end of this very important moment of discussion.
Bye-bye.
Bye.